Hello friends, welcome to Dr.RAjeshverma's YouTube channel, and we'll be discussing today the second part of trait approach of personality. So in the previous video we discussed the part 1 of the trait approaches that defines the personality. We covered two theories, G.W. Allport trait approach and Raymond Cattell's trait approach. In this video, we'll be covering two more. That is your Isin personality theory and five-factor theory. That was given by the Macquarie and Costa Rica and the different peoples. So, in particularly, we will be talking about these two theories in this, and that comes under the purview of the trait approach of personality. As you know, the meaning of what is a trait? You know, trait is a genetically determined characteristic that remains stable over lifetime. So this is a very important statement. In psychological parlance, trait is stable, persistent, and specific way of behaving. So to understand the trait, we must remember these three parts. That is, it's a stable, it's a persistent, and a specific way. Specific means it's a unique to individual. These are the observable, subjective, and abstract qualities of an individual that ensure the consistency in behavior across situations. Here again, three components. See, first part, the stability, persistence, and specific way of behaving. This defines the trait. Whereas the next part, that is its observable, subjective, and abstract quality, these are the characteristics of trait. In nutshell, traits are the fundamental factors over which consistent behavioral outcomes are based. They are found in each individual with varying intensity and magnitude. So, the trait theorists say that we all individuals possesses some quantity or possesses traits, but the intensity and magnitude differs. And finally, the traits approach said that the traits are the building blocks of personality. Means they are the major component that forms the personality. Let us move to the next and see what Atkinson et al. Said about traits. They say that a trait refers to a characteristic that differs from person to person in a relatively permanent and consistent way. Means we all have traits, but we differ with each other on the characteristics of traits. That is, relatively, they are permanent and consistent way. Trait theorists believe that different personality type result from the varied combination of psychological attributes we call as the traits. As it has been suggested that various researchers suggested that we all have traits, but the intensity and magnitude differs when these traits interact together and they form a different type of combinations. Due to this combination, we have different type of personality type, and they manifest unique behavioral patterns by virtue of their interaction. On the basis of similarity in intensity and type of trait, the persons are classified into different personality types. See, 2 point I want to make it here: similarity in intensity and type of trait. So this is a very pertinent point here. Kindly remember it. Similarity in intensity, I am repeating it, and type of trait. Suppose two individuals have a trait, a one trait, and the intensity is almost similar. It's not entirely similar. But when the intensity and magnitude of that trait is similar, we try to classify such individual in a particular personality type. That is the point I want to make it here. So, what are the different personality types and all? So, in part two, we'll be discussing. That is your part one. I told you we discussed Alport trait theory and Cattell's trait theory. And part two, this is the present video. That is part two. We'll be discussing Isin trait theory and five factor theory. So, let us start with the Isin trait theory. H. J. Isin in 952, 67, 82, he revised his theory, proposed two broad dimensions of personality based on biology and genetics. Hence, his trait concepts is dependent upon the biology and genetics. Different types of distinct traits are found in each dimension. So, he given two dimensions. That is neuroticism versus emotional stability. This refers to an extent to which people have control over their own emotions. That is, emotions are the basis of these dimensions. Means the individuals at the one end of the dimension, there are individuals who are emotionally stable. At the other end of this continuum, people are with who are mentally deranged. See, this is your emotional continuum. The moment you move this way, at this end, people are emotionally stable. This is Eisen trait theory. And if you move this way, at this end, people are neurotic. So this is neuroticism versus emotional stability. So the people who are neurotics, they are anxious, moody, nervous, restless, and quickly lose control of themselves. Means the people who are on this side have this type of traits. At the other end, that is toward the yellow side, there are people who are calm, even temperate, reliable, and self-control, have control over their emotions. So this is the one dimension that Eisen proposed that contains the two end. At one end, there are emotionally stable people. At the end, people are neurotic. And he defined these characteristics of both the type of people. It means at the one end, the continuum is emotionally stable, and the other end, the emotionally unstable. So this is the first dimension Eisen proposed in his trait theory. Then comes your second dimension, extrovert versus introvert. Similar case here. I have drawn this two arrows. One is a red color, one is yellow color. At the one end of this dimension, people are those who are classified as introvert, and at the other end are extroverts. It refers to the degree of socially outgoing or socially withdrawing traits. The first dimension, neuroticism versus emotional stability, was based on the control over the emotions, whereas people, this dimension is dependent upon the degree of socially outgoing or socially withdrawing. The people on the this end are extroverts, and they are uh, relatively more outgoing. At this end, people are introvert and they are socially withdrawing. Those who are active, sociable, impulsive, thrill seeking, risk taking, and uh, so on, they are termed as extrovert. Whereas at the other end, those who are socially withdrawn, passive, calm, alert, self contained. You call it the cow's potatoes. They remain within their own world. They do not like to interact with people. They have a less level of socio-economic interpersonal relations, whereas and they talk limited. So these type of people are considered as a introvert. So these are the two dimensions Eisen suggested: neuroticism versus emotional stability, extrovert versus introverts. So, but he revised, as I told you, he revised his trait theory, and later he proposed one more dimension that we call it as a third dimension. The basis of the third dimension was he studied the various people who are suffering from psychological disorders. By virtue of his study, he added this third dimension of personality we call as a psychoticism versus sociability. He suggested that individual is not purely psychotic, but shows various traits usually found in psychotic patients. We all display the traits or the characteristics which are found in psychotic patients. But we are not psychotic in that sense. We are not purely, absolutely psychotic. A person who scores high on psychoticism dimension tends to be hostile, egocentric, disregard for conventions, reckless, have inappropriate emotional expression, antisocial, and face difficulty in dealing with real life situations. So here I want to make it a point is, as I told you, we all have certain characteristics that are found in psychotic patients, but per se we are not psychotic. If these characteristics predominate our behavior, in that case, we can be classified as psychotic. And the people on the other end of the dimension are sociable, just opposite. So this was the third dimension suggested by the Isin, and the basis of this dimension was is studied of the persons who are suffering for the psychological disorders. Next, we'll be discussing. Let us see what's the Eisen model is. We'll be discussing five-factor theory in the next coming slides. See, this is the Eisen model. Extrovert, you can see here are the introvert, neurotic, and stable. Earlier model, when there was a that he's not added the psychoticism versus sociability dimension. So the when you start from extrovert to neurotic, see active, optimistic, impulsive, changeable, excitable, aggressive, restless, touchy, that individual becomes the traits becomes manifest these type of traits. From neurotic to introvert, from introvert to stable, from stable to extrovert, or reverse, or you can see any way you can see. So these are the traits or the characteristics or the qualities displayed by the people who are either extrovert, introvert. They may be not, people are not purely extrovert. They may lie between this continuum here. They may be extrovert as well as a neurotic, neurotic as well as introvert, neurotic as well as stable. So extrovert versus stable. So this is the beautiful Eisen model. Those who want to study this, they must keep this diagram in their mind. So let us go for the five-factor theory of personality. They say, see, Tupes and Crystal, 1961, Goldberg, 1982, Kettle, Costa, and Mackay, 1987. These all people work differently at different situations, some with their own, jointly. They arrived at a similar results that define personality in five broad factors. And this model is also called ocean model or canoe model. That these words are taken from the these are is an abbreviated form taken for the first alphabet of that word. Uh, so these factors are that is there in front of you in this diagram: openness to experience, conscientiousness, extraversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. This very important, very interesting image I was downloaded from the Very Well Mind website. You can see here openness to experience, conscientiousness, extraversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. So let us define each trait a little bit for the ease of understanding. See, these are the traits of personality factors. See, this is ocean model: openness to experience, conscientiousness, extraversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. So individual who possesses these traits, that someone is possesses conscientiousness, a predominant trait, then that he or individual manifests or expresses behavior as a competence, order, dutifulness, achievement, striving, self-discipline, and deliberation. You can get my point. Means we all have all traits, but particular traits predominate our personality. In that case, we are classified as that type of personality. Suppose I am my personality, if I manifest or express agreeableness, then it doesn't mean that I don't have open to new experiences or conscientiousness or extraversion, neurotic characteristics. I have all of that, but my predominant trait will be agreeableness. So at across situations, I will manifest, I will show trust, straightforwardness more than these type of people. Getting my point? So that is the point I want to make here is that is the predominant traits makes us a particular type of personality type. So this is I want to say. You can pause this video and read this, and it's a very important one. If you remember and understand the basic crux of this is a very interesting personality theory. Let us see the people who have a predominantly openness to experience trait. They are the individual with these traits are curious. They appreciate art, are ready to try new ideas, imaginative and novelty seeking. So these are the so if an individual manifests these traits regularly, consistently, and across situations, we can, on the basis of this model, we can classify him or her into openness to experience type. They are found to be creative, risk-taking, and love to tread new path by following unconventional ideas. They try to beat new path for themselves. So such traits people are classified as a openness to experience personality type. The second comes your conscientiousness. The such people display higher self-control, means they have their control on their behavior, on their emotion expressions, self-discipline, conscious control over their impulses, high on achievement motivation, and believe in planned behavior. Means again I want to make it point here is the individual who expresses such type of characteristics or traits regularly, persistent way in across situations, then we can safely, on the basis of this model, say that individual is predominantly conscientiousness. Then comes your extraversion. The individual with this trait love to enjoy the company of others, are full of energy, highly sociable, dominate groups, action oriented, enthusiastic, and have relatively large number of contact numbers stored in their mobile phones. It's a very interesting thing. So you can, it has not been proved by any research, but this is my idea, which this is my hypothesis, which I'm going to study in future. That the individual who are high on these traits are likely to have, again I'm making a point, are likely to have large number of contact numbers stored in their mobile phone relatively, because they are enthusiastic, and these people love to attend social functions, cultural activities. They try to adopt the jobs, professions which in which they can directly meet the people. So they are termed as extraversion. And the fourth dimension is agreeableness. Agreeableness is a social trait. See, all are psychosocial traits relatively, but agreeableness is more social trait that reflects the concern for the social setup. They are oriented to move with others. They love to move with others. They can be trusted, kind, faithful, high on optimism and positive about the human nature. They believe that everyone is has some quality and they are positive. Because, and interestingly, they more often compromise with their own interest for the sake of others. And people tend to have high regard for such people. Means people who are agreeable, other people love them and they keep them in higher regard, because these people are more empathetic and more sympathetic, because they sometimes even compromise their own interest for the sake of others. That's why this trait has been termed as a more social trait. So if you come across such a people in your life, that those who are helps others, more altruistic, or they are they even compromise their own time for the others. So you can, and predominantly they manifest such behavior regularly in a persistent way. We can safely call them as a agreeable type of personality. And the last part in this video or this trait theory is in neuroticism. The individual with this trait displays frequently mood swings. Sometimes they're very happy, sometimes they're sad. that is mood swings frequently, anxious behavior, pessimism, frequent negative feelings, and negative feelings come from negative thoughts, and which are emotionally unstable. Neurotic people are found to be emotionally unstable as suggested by the Isin. Can't you remember that? Hence, these people find it difficult to deal with the stress and have low tolerance for the criticism. So you can test through the various psychological testing or assessment. We can classify the people in different personality types, and if those individuals who displays predominantly a particular type of characteristics, that on the basis of these characteristics we can classify that individual in a particular personality type. So dear friends, this was all about our this video, the trait approach part 2 of the personality. First we discussed Eisen personality model. He discussed the three dimensions, neuroticism versus uh, emotional stability. Then he discussed the second extraversion versus introversion, latterly psychotic or socially sociability. So these are the three dimensions discussed by the Eisen. Then the five factor model, McCarey and Costa and Tupe and all Crystal and all, they defined and they studied and arrived at a similar results. So what the results are, that model has been termed as a ocean model or big five factor model or a canoe model. The ocean is an abbreviation, the first alphabet of each word. Ocean means open to experience. O, C, conscientiousness. E, extraversion. A, agreeableness. And neuroticism. So different traits are manifested by this individual, these personality types. So one point I want to make it here, we all have all these traits, but the trait that predominate our personality in our behavior, and that is consistent way, we can safely term that individual that he or she falls in a particular type of personality type. So dear friends, these are my references, you can cross check them or you can study for more, and next video we'll be talking about, you know, that one, that is nature of intelligence. It's a very important construct, psychological variable, and people are curious to know. That video will contain interesting images. And finally, dear friends, if you like or love this video, you can share with others. If you have something to say, you can contact me on my, you can write directly to me on my comment box, or you can write on my email, which is in front of you. And I love to see your comments, and I appreciate your critical comments too. So, dear friends, once again, thank you for watching this video.